The first time I saw her, she was lying face down in the mud, her once bright clothes stained dark with blood. I'd worked homicides before, drug deals gone wrong, domestic disputes turned deadly, but this one felt different. It was more personal, more brutal. She was young, early 20s maybe, with long dark hair. There were no witnesses, no murder weapon, no obvious motive. Her name was Linda Ann Healy, a college student from the University of Washington. Her roommates had reported her missing after she didn't show up for her morning shift at a radio station. The last anyone had seen of her was the night before. But here she was now, discarded in the woods like trash. My gut told me this was no random attack. The scene was carefully preserved as we began to sift through the evidence. The medical examiner confirmed that Linda had suffered massive head trauma, likely from a blunt object. There were signs she had been restrained, bruising on her wrists and ankles. I stood over her lifeless body, trying to piece together the last moments of her life. What kind of monster does this? The case grew colder as the days went on. We canvassed the area, talked to friends, co-workers, anyone who had seen Linda in the days leading up to her disappearance. But the more we dug, the more elusive the truth became. The trail was already going cold. Then, just as I started to think Linda's case might never be solved, another woman disappeared. Her name was Donna Gail Manson, a 19-year-old student from Evergreen State College. Like Linda, she vanished without a trace one night, walking alone to a concert. Her friends reported her missing the next day, but by the time we got involved, there were no solid leads, no witnesses, no evidence. It was as if she had simply ceased to exist. The press started picking up the story. 2 young women, both college students, both taken without a sound. People were scared, but as the weeks passed, we were no closer to finding out who was behind these disappearances. Every lead we followed turned into a dead end, and then it happened again. Susan Rancourt, a bright young woman from Central Washington University, disappeared on her way to meet friends. She never showed up. We combed through the area, checked local bars, her usual haunts. Nothing. I started to see the pattern, a shadow creeping over the city, preying on young women who shared the same features. Long dark hair, college students, alone at night. Each case added a new layer of frustration, a new name to the growing list of missing women: Roberta Parks, Brenda Ball, Jorgan Hawkins. I was losing sleep, haunted by the thought of what had happened to them. The more we searched, the more I began to suspect that this was no ordinary killer. Whoever it was, he was smart, methodical. He knew how to cover his tracks, how to blend in. It wasn't until the summer of 1974 that we caught our first real break. A witness at Lake Sammamish State Park reported seeing a man approaching several young women, introducing himself as Ted. He was handsome, charming, and had his arm in a sling, asking for help loading a sailboat onto his car. 2 women, Janice Ott and Denise Naslund, agreed to help him. They were never seen again. The witness description was crucial. A clean-cut man with a fake injury, driving a light brown Volkswagen Beetle. For the first time, we had something concrete to work with. We began circulating the description, hoping it would lead us to him. But Ted, as the women called him, remained a ghost. Months passed, and bodies began to surface. What was left of them anyway? Bones, skull fragments. The remains of Janice Ott, Denise Naslund, and others were discovered in remote wooded areas. It became clear we were dealing with a predator unlike any other. Someone who didn't just kill, he hunted. We followed every lead, every tip. Witnesses from other states began calling in, describing similar encounters with a man matching Ted's description. The trail led me to Utah, where a young woman named Carol DeRanch had narrowly escaped a man who had posed as a police officer. He had handcuffed her and tried to force her into his car, but she fought back and fled. Her testimony was chilling, and it confirmed what I had long feared. Our killer wasn't content to stay in one place. He was moving, spreading his terror across state lines. By the time we identified our suspect, he had already crossed several state borders. His name was Ted Bundy, a seemingly ordinary man with a law degree and a charming demeanor. But beneath the facade was a cold-blooded killer who had left a trail of devastation in his wake. We finally caught up with him in 1975, after he was arrested for the attempted kidnapping of Carol DeRanch. Inside his Volkswagen, we found the tools of his trade: handcuffs, a crowbar, and rope. But even in custody, Bundy remained arrogant, confident that we couldn't pin the murders on him. He denied everything, smiling, as if it were all some kind of game, but I wasn't going to let him win. Piece by piece, we built the case against him. Bundy's good looks and charm had been his weapon. He lured his victims in with a smile, a request for help, a fake cast. Once they were isolated, he struck with brutal efficiency. His victims, all young women, were kidnapped, SA, and murdered, their bodies dumped in remote locations, sometimes miles apart. The full scope of his atrocities was staggering. As we linked him to more and more disappearances, he had killed across Washington, Oregon, Utah, and Colorado, and he wasn't done yet. Even after his capture, Bundy managed to escape from custody, not once, but twice. Each time, he left a fresh wave of bloodshed in his wake. In 1978, he broke into a sorority house in Florida, murdering 2 women, Margaret Bowman and Lisa Levy, before attacking 2 others. His final victim was a 12-year-old girl named Kimberly Leach. When we finally brought him to justice, it was too late for so many, but at least we had stopped the monster before he could claim more lives. Ted Bundy was sentenced to death, and in 1989, he was executed in Florida's electric chair. But his legacy of terror remains, a reminder he had been a predator unlike any I had ever encountered. And though he's gone, the memories of his victims, those young women who trusted him, will stay with me forever.